So for chapter number 7, do you think people commonly judge or reject value system differently from their own? I'll say yes. I do think people often judge or reject value system that do not align with them or with their own. And this is something in chapter 7 that we can see, such as when the individuals are raised with a specific moral framework, it can be difficult to accept or even understand alternative values. For example, in the Japan bit ringing case, loyalty or harmony within business groups were considered core values, but from Western ethical standpoint, these practical clearly violate the principles of fairness and transparency. Someone from a different culture might quickly judge um, it as an unethical without considering the context. It's a challenge because it brings up the tension between moral relativism and universal ethical standards. For number 2, our value system always neutral, good or bad, explain. I don't think value systems are inherited one or the other. They're not always good or bad. It's again always depend on the context. And then on chapter 7, which it shows that the value system are shaped by the culture, by history, social needs, which means they serve a purpose for the people who follow them. Also, it's made of like their own conscious, their own like knowledge. So people just make up what is good or bad depending on their experience also. However, problems on the chapter 7 arise when a value system causes harm or violates broader ethical principles. For instance, valuing loyalty can be good when it builds trust with a group, but if it leads to covering up corruption, like in the Bering, it crosses a line. That's why understanding the outcome of a value system is just as important as understanding the value themselves. Again, I think it's more of like it's good till I harm somebody, then it start being bad on a context or like in a general context. Might not be good or bad, but if something that is bad is not, it doesn't affect you, I don't think it's, again, it's around the context, but always the limit on the line of like harming somebody else. Number 3, show the rejection and judge some people's system. Yes, I think there are times when we should reject value system, specifically if it's considered resulting in harm or violating human rights, like we talked in last example. In chapter 7, discusses how not all cultural practices, should be accepted because they exist. And there's a clear example that will be the system that promoted discrimination or abuse, like apartheid like in South Africa, or in the cases like system like India. These systems were deeply rooted in a cultural roots or norms and traditions, but they lead to serious injustices, especially toward women. In a business context, something like a bell ringing in the chapter 7, where loyalty is used to justify deception, is a value distortion that you should be also questionable and rejected from other people and from the company. Ethical decision makes should involve respecting different perspectives, but also standing firm when values clearly conflict with fairness, justice, and human dignity. So to wrap up, it's basically context, and I think everyone has to be in the same context and be educated in the same context to understand the values, what is good, what is wrong, and what is considered ethical and what is considered unethical.